At 2:00 a.m. on January 17, 1991, a joint Army-Air Force unit named Task Force Normandy was crossing the Iraqi border before the 8 hours of Operation Desert Storm. This unit consisted of 4 MH-53J PAVE Low and 8 AH-64A Apache, and their mission was to destroy 2 Iraqi early warning radar sites with the purpose to blind Iraqi air defense and open a 20-mile wide air corridor in the opening minutes of the air campaign. This unknown Task Force Normandy is the crucial role that started Operation Desert Storm. During the Vietnam War, the use of surface-to-air missiles by a very determined enemy resulted in the loss of thousands of U.S. aircraft. Accordingly, Combat Search and Rescue Forces, CSAR or SAR for short, of U.S. Air Force incurred a heavy workload in recovering downed American aircrews. The increased missions have weakened the performance of the HH-3E Jolly Green Giant. Recognizing the potential of the CH-53A Sea Stallion heavy-lift helicopter, the Air Force borrowed 2 Sea Stallions from the Marine Corps to evaluate them for use in the CSR role. The Stallion's perfect performance caught the attention of U.S. Air Force, and the CSR Stallion was designated HH-53B, Super Jolly Green Giant, usually just shortened to Super Jolly. The deliveries of Super Jolly began in June 1967, and all 8 B model Super Jolly reached the Southeast Asia in September 1967. Key features incorporated into the HH-53B included 2 more powerful General Electric T-64-3 engines, an extendable air refueling probe, AR probe for short, jettisonable auxiliary fuel tanks, a rescue hoist, and defensive armament. The operational use of HH-53B led to the improvement of the HH-53C, and deliveries of the C model began in August 1968. The easiest way to tell C model from its predecessor was by the auxiliary fuel tanks unit, the C model having the smaller 450 gal tanks that did not have the bracing structure for the B model. The HH-53C also featured a pair of 3400s and 35 shaft horsepower turboshaft engines, additional armor, and improved radio communications gear. In an iconic CSAR mission, the Super Jolly were escorted by specially trained pilots flying propeller-driven A-1 Sky Raiders, call sign Sandy, and were refueled by HC-130s if necessary. After at least 30 minutes flying, the Super Jolly were hovering only long enough to make their pickups with jungle penetrator, while the Sky Raiders laid down covering fire. During the war, the Air Force lost about 14 Super Jolly on CSAR missions, and they proved to be even more effective in CSR missions. But the around-the-clock air operations in Vietnam war resulted in a number of downed aircraft during the hours of darkness, and most of the airmen were ended up being captured or killed while waiting for daylight rescue. So in 1967, the Limited Night Recovery System, LNRS for short, was introduced for the Super Jollies to develop their night vision capability temporarily. Meanwhile, the Sikorsky Aircraft Corporation was awarded a contract to develop onboard avionics with off-the-shelf technology to meet the need of night rescue, and the project was named PAVE Star. The engineers developed a prototype kit that would provide the HH-53s with a night operations system in this project, but the PAVE Star project was terminated in 1970s. Due to its complexity and high cost, all its research results were transferred to the program PAVE Imp. With the request to provide CSR capability in total darkness, under adverse weather, in all terrain at low level. The program was renamed PAVE Low. Then a Norden APQ-141 terrain, following and terrain avoidance radar system was installed on a LNRS-equipped HH-53B in June 1972. The radar system was under development for the Army's Lockheed AH-56 Cheyenne attack helicopter program, and it was merely a flight test example. To solve the low-level flying problems of initiate model, the YH-53H PAVE Low 2 with modified system was born in 1975. Next 8 HH-53Cs were given a further improved systems fit and redesignated HH-53H PAVE Low 3, with the previous YH-53H also upgraded to this specification. All these aircrafts were delivered in 1979 and 1980. The HH-53H retained the typical equipments of HH-53C and features some special items like forward-looking infrared imager, terrain following radar, Doppler radar navigation system, inertial guidance system, radar warning receiver, and chaff flare dispensers. All of these specialized mission systems in the PAVE Low were collectively integrated through a central avionics computer. In 1986, these PAVE Lows got the blue-green lighting cockpit compatible with night vision goggles and became MH-53H, that stand for Multi-Purpose and Special Operations. Then coming up with the MH-53J PAVE Low, 3 enhanced configuration, the major changes being fit of a pair of 4000s, 380 shaft horsepower, General Electric T64-415, turboshaft engine, and GPS satellite navigation receiver. All the remaining 41 HH-53s were upgraded to the MH-53J configuration from 1986 through 1990. Now the state-of-the-art machine was able to transport special operations forces and execute CSAR missions behind enemy lines in total darkness because they can maintain low-level penetration in all weather situation. The Operation Just Cause in 1989 was the first official deployment of PAVE Lows. 5 MH-53J of the 20th Special Operations Squadron were used for delivering special operations teams during the 8 hours of the operation. 1 year later, the PAVE Lows were chosen for the mission to guide 2 groups of Apaches to destroy 2 Iraqi radar sites due to their advanced GPS navigation equipments. The task force took off from the airports in Saudi Arabia and maintained a speed of 120 knots at altitude of 75 feet in the path to targets. The task force slowed to 80 knots and descended to 50 feet as they approached the release point. Then the PAVE Lows slowed to hover and dropped green chemical stick to the ground to mark release point, which can help updated the Apache's Doppler navigational systems for the final 10-mile run to their individual targets. Finally, both the radars were destroyed 22 minutes before H hour, and the entire task force headed home safely. The PAVE Lows were frequently participated in the following CSR missions of Operation Desert Storm and the operation in the Balkan Peninsula. In 1997, 25 of the remaining PAVE Lows were upgraded to the final configuration. The MH-53M PAVE Low 4. Its main improvement is the IDAS and MAT system that enhance the defensive capabilities of PAVE Lows. And some M variant feature a pair of DARK-M for countering infrared guidance missiles that replace the ALQ-157. Then the PAVE Lows again entered the forefront of the large-scale combat in Afghanistan and Iraq. After the 9/11 attack in 2001, both of these conflicts were significant for their heavy emphasis on special operations, a task for which the PAVE Low and its crews proved immensely effective. These fast, flexible, and durable PAVE Lows just proved their value for all-weather special operations and CSAR missions, and they were all playing a crucial role in the Air Force Special Operations Command. After 30 years' high mission-ready rate services, the inevitable rise in maintenance costs and times to keep the PAVE Lows flying took its toll, so the PAVE Lows was retired by the Air Force in September 2008, and at the time, some of them still remained a highly effective, fully mission-capable platform, and the airframe had no structural fatigue problem. As for their special duties, the Air Force chose the CV-22B Osprey for its long-range special operations missions, with CSAR missions being handled by the HH-60G PAVE Hawks. In 2007, an odd-looking PAVE Low was chosen to play one of the most impressive Decepticons roles, Blackout in the Transformers, and the film is also the swan song of the PAVE Lows in the public eyes.